Filled to Capacity, where heart, grit, and irreverent humor collide. A podcast for people too stubborn to quit and too creative not to make a difference. Hi, this is Pat Benincasa, and welcome to Filled to Capacity, episode number 138, with Quicksand Certainty. Quicksand. It looks like ground. Solid, walkable, trustworthy ground. And it is, until it isn't. Until something shifts underneath and what held you a moment ago doesn't anymore. And you can't tell by looking. That's the thing. There is no way to know. Here's what quicksand is actually made of. In normal sand, grains are packed tightly together, solid, reliable, load-bearing. But quicksand, 30 to 70% of it is void, empty space. It looks exactly like solid ground. It just isn't. And here's the kicker. Quicksand is twice as dense as the human body, which means, left alone, you float. You do not sink. The thing that pulls you under isn't the quicksand, it's the frenetic struggle. So, what's the ground we've been walking on all this time without looking down? The press, science, the rule of law. We walked it in comfort and confidence. We walked it without asking what it needed from us, because it always held. And maybe that's human. Maybe that's just what we do with ground that doesn't complain. But civic ground is not cement. It needs tending. It needs attention. It needs us to look down once in a while and ask, is this still solid? Am I doing my part? We forgot that. At least most of us did. For a long time. Here's what that ground is actually made of. A free press watches. It stands between the citizen and the powerful, and it asks on your behalf, what are you doing? Why? For whom? It's not always comfortable. It's not always perfect, but it shows up. And when it's free, truly free, it belongs to no one. Not to a party or a donor or to a person. It answers only to the truth. Now, science does not give a rip what you need to be true. Science has a process. You observe something. You ask a question. You form a hypothesis, and then you test it. You document what happens. Other scientists review it, challenge it, try to break it. And at the end of that, if it holds, it becomes knowledge. Not because someone powerful said so, because it survived. And if it doesn't survive, you start over. That's not failure. That's the whole point. No courtroom works this way. No press conference. No election. Only science builds the demand to be proven wrong into its own foundation. Okay, buckle up. We are going in the Wayback Machine. 800 years ago, in a meadow by the River Thames, a king was forced to put his seal on a piece of parchment. It said something radical, something that had never been written down before, that the king himself, was not above the law, that the rules applied to everyone. Hello, Magna Carta. John Adams would later call it simply a government of laws and not of men. We've been walking on that ground ever since. Here's what I've noticed. When the ground gets uncertain, people sort themselves into different belief camps. Some of us feel it in our bones, that wobble, that wrongness. Then some of us choose not to choose. After all, we are not political. And some of us plant our feet harder, double down, get louder. Certainty becomes its own kind of comfort. By the way, Dante Alighieri, the Italian poet who gave us the Divine Comedy in the early 1300s, had a place for people who never chose. Not heaven, not hell, something worse, the vestibule, the waiting room of eternity, reserved for those who, when the moment came, they looked away. But here's what Quicksand teaches us that Dante didn't say. It's not always the people who looked away who sink first. Sometimes it's the ones who are absolutely certain they're standing on solid ground. Our convictions, our tribe, our carefully curated, algorithm-fed version of reality. The very act of planting your feet, of insisting, is what breaks the surface. Quicksand doesn't care how sure you are. Here's what nobody prepares you for. It's not the big moments that get you. It's the small ones. The hesitation before you make a plan. Like hope has a catch in its throat. There is an ongoing struggle to be fully present at the dinner table, in the garden, with someone you love, while something underneath keeps asking, is this still okay? Will this still be here? Uncertainty is its own kind of weight. Not loud, not dramatic, just persistent. Like standing on ground that doesn't quite hold the weight it used to. And here's the paradox at the heart of it. The only way to live with quicksand certainty, the only way through, is to stop demanding that the ground be solid before you take the next step. But wait, you're in the quicksand? Scientists tell you the same thing. Move slowly. Lean back. Distribute your weight. Stop demanding solid ground and work with what you have. That's not surrender. That's the only way out. Quicksand certainty doesn't ask you to stop caring. It doesn't ask you to look away. Well, Dante already told us where that leads. It asks something harder. To stay present without demanding solid ground. To tend what needs tending. The press, science, the rule of law, the civic ground beneath our feet, not from certainty, but from commitment, not because the ground is solid, because it's worth tending.